Greetings to readers, viewers, and listeners, and welcome to this next edition of the Autistic Superblog's The Hot Take. A little bit of an impromptu one, though, but it's one that I've been wanting to do for a while, as this one will be my brief, like Cliff Notes version of the the WWE Netflix series on the Vince McMahon, the documentary that just dropped just recently on YouTube. And I will say this: I mean, it was not meant it was not meant for fans who've never heard of Vince McMahon or know about the wrestling business. It was more for casual fans, but for wrestling fans, for old school wrestling fans, it was kind of like a brief history lesson. I look at it as more of a history lesson on what one man did for the industry at large. Um, I look at it more as I look at it more as a history lesson when it comes to something like this. By the way, if you want to chat to your readers and viewers, you could chat and we could talk for a little bit. Maybe you have the same feelings as I do. Maybe you don't. I'd be more than willing to hear you guys out. Just want to let you know that if you're going into this one hoping to learn some new things, if you're a wrestling fan, it might disappoint, but it's a good refresher. I looked at it as both a wrestling historian in a way, and I also looked at it as someone who wanted to know more about Vince McMahon and who he is as an individual. My first thought on this is that it was. I mean, you could have gotten a couple more episodes out of it and focused more on what he was doing growing up, like his upbringing growing up, because there's a lot of it that really like makes you makes you makes you look hard and be like, is that really true? Like, can this really happen? And sure enough, it did when it comes to the Janelle Grant lawsuit that happened several years ago. But it's all about looking back, looking where the seeds may have been planted, where things could have been a little bit more detailed, where things could have where they didn't touch on his past as much. They focused on his past as a booker, and they looked at the impact of what he did in the wrestling business, but also they also made it seem that he like he couldn't like he could never be as bad as anyone else. That he couldn't succeed. That he couldn't fail. Although the XFL and the World Bodybuilding Federation lay claim to how and the XFL, of course, um, talks about how bad this man failed in his other endeavors as he was trying to get into as he was trying to branch out into wrestling. But I actually kind of liked it. There were certain things that really get my made me think about who Mr. McMahon was or is. I mention it now because he's out of the picture now, but I mean, there are a lot of other podcasters, and I'll mention Solid Monster from Solid Monster Sounds Off and the Wrestling Court, whom I've mentioned on the Autistic Super channel before and the Autistic Super blog, that have done a much better thought, that have much the same thoughts that I do. But I also feel like it was very interesting to see why certain things happened the way they did. Like with Vince McMahon and Shane McMahon, the conflict that they had. I won't get into any spoilers, but I'm just saying like those guys and I have the same feelings on this. But I looked at it also as it was kind of a great nostalgia trip. It was a it was a fun nostalgia trip for someone who was seen all 40 WrestleManias at this point. I have my DVDs of WrestleMania that aren't being made anymore. But the fact of the matter is, it was kind of a nice thing to kind of like get, albeit a condensed version, but a version that you can be like, oh, I remember this, I remember this, I remember this. But it also speaks about the bad side, the Ring Boy scandals, the Rhea Sheridan scandal, all these different scandals, and I kind of took I kind of I kind of took away what a bad person he was, like how depraved he is, like how sick he must be, and how much of a workaholic he is. I can only imagine if he was autistic. I mean, the things that he's been able to do. I mean, I don't know if I could do it. I mean, I dealt with burnout 2 years ago, and it makes me feel and it makes me shudder when I see people like working like excessively on one thing to the exclusion of all other things. And at one point, you have to stop and smell the roses. You have to be able to look at things in a better light and see, hey, this is something that I did. That's something that I did. See that? That was me. And Vince McMahon could do that with WWE. I mean, Vince McMahon could do it with WWE. And it's good that I feel like Triple H has taken over the book. And I feel like I got a chance to hear Solid Monsters WrestleMania 40 podcast on the subject, and I think he did a really good job on that. But I also feel like it really makes me wonder like what WrestleMania 39 could have looked like. I feel like there was a power struggle in my eyes between Vince and Triple H creatively. Like he was ready, like he had to go, like but he wasn't like ready to let go like totally. And I think that the way I see it, WrestleMania 39 in hindsight, the reason why it was so slapshot as it was because Triple H didn't fully have the book when it came to creative. I think that WrestleMania 40, in my eyes, is one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time, just because of how it was, just because of how it was booked, with everything going on in hindsight that we did not know about at the time. I mean, it was a masterclass, and I'm just really. I hope that there are more WrestleManias like that, like WrestleMania 40, because that right there, for me, especially the ending match of Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns for the undisputed title, for me, kind of was like a harkening back to WrestleMania's past and getting into WrestleMania's future, and that's kind of the situation that I was going into. But back to this man, I feel like it did not paint him in the best light, but I can also I can respect Vince McMahon as an individual, as a wrestling promoter and all that stuff. But I also realize just how just how unwell he was, how unfit he must have felt, just how I guess unhinged. I'm gonna say just to kind of give that out there. But I also feel like it was a nice thing for wrestling fans, like that didn't know, like casual fans who may not have known the whole situation when it comes to something like this. It really kind of made things a lot more clearer, and it makes you really think, that's odd. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? Why did that happen? Why did that happen? It kind of makes you really understand that because Vince McMahon was such a workaholic, was a perfectionist. I think he wanted to make sure everything was in tune with his vision, never really understanding that he needed to let go a long time ago, which is what happened with in 2022 with the Janelle Grant lawsuit. And who knows what's going to happen with that? Who knows what's going to happen with the other thing? But the one thing I will say is that Vince may have screwed Vince because of the the first and second brains he was talking about on one of the episodes. He may have screwed himself on that one because when it comes to me, I can only work one place. I mean, I have this feeling of multitasking, but I'm also focused on other things too. So maybe that's something with me too. But I had the chance to smell the roses. I had the chance to relax. I mean, if the last summer was enough, I did. just as Vince McMahon might need to now, and WWE is going to be the better for it. But in this thing, I think that Vince screwed Vince. Vince screwed Vince in this documentary. It did not paint him in the best of lights, nor did I think it would when it comes to Janelle Grant and all the stuff that he's done in the past. Now coming back to him, it's 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 sad, but it's also nostalgic in the same way. So I would definitely recommend it. I would definitely give it a watch. Notice I'm not giving any spoilers to readers because I want you guys to check it out for yourselves. Um, if you like this video, please check me out here on the Autistic Super Channel and on YouTube. You can check me out here on X, Facebook, all that good stuff. Like, share, and subscribe to this video if you like it. And until next time, dear readers and viewers and listeners, oh, and you can check out all my videos on the autisticsuperblog.wordpress.com. Until next time, dear readers and viewers and listeners, stay safe, stay strong, and as always, shine on.